Hi, this is Dr. Nick. I'm the Incrementalist, and today we've got a special triple tasting. It's part of a tasting flight, and we're going to cover 3 bottles. This one, 7.203, distillery number 7, which is the Longmore distillery. This is 63, which is the Glentauchers, and bottle number 49. And distillery number 10, Bunnahabhain, which is an Islay, and this is part of the flight that the Scottish Malt Whisky put together, Lasting Impressions, one that they guided some of their members to put together and allow people to taste. And we're going to go through each of these as part of a single tasting to give you some comparison. Before I do that, I want to show you the difference between these, each of these in terms of the way that they look, and you can see the difference in the color. So this is the first one, that's the Angel's Tears, which is the Longmore, much lighter color. This is the Glentauchers, very dark. That's the one that's called Into the Dark Abyss. And then the final one, just to compare it, and I think holding those up, I hope you can see that. What's really intriguing about this is the pinkness of that. I don't know if that comes through in the camera, but this is called Pretty in Pink, and this is the Bunnahabhain, which I'm excited to taste. So we're going to go through each of these and do a little tasting, put that all together. So join me for the first one. So the first tasting that we're going to do is this Angel's Tears. It's a 15-year-old bottle. Comes from the Scottish Malt Whisky Society. If you're interested in buying, joining them, you can click on the link that's below. That will give you $20 incentive to be able to join and discount. And this one from the distillery number 7, which translated is the Longmore distillery, and part of this tasting flight. So that was the lighter one, if you remember, much lighter than the others. 15 years old, and this has got a real orangey smell. Now, it's higher alcohol, so you might decide to add some water to release some of the additional flavors. What's really intriguing about this is that it's got this really solid, viscousy, chewy kind of nature. It's 15 years, and it gives you this orange golden syrup kind of taste, but you can almost chew that. And what it does in the finish is it sort of slides down, and you can feel it sort of almost lining your esophagus as it goes down. It's just this delightful sort of chewiness, and a little bit of spice and nuttiness at the end. So that's a delightful sort of start to the tasting sequence from Longmore, a Speyside distillery. Let's move on to the next one. So bottle number 2 is from this Glentauchers. This is an 11-year-old, even higher alcohol content. This one's called Into the Dark Abyss. It's distillery number 63, bottle number 49. And you can see part of the reasoning for that is this dark color that we find. And we get this very rich, opulent nuts, walnuts. You can feel some of the figs, and clearly the Oloroso sherry cask that's giving us some of that color is also coming through. This has a really rich, almost a king's taste to it. It's got bitterness to it that's coached in a little bit of chocolate. I can taste a little bit of strawberry. Certainly that Oloroso sherry is coming through, and indeed a little bit of cherries sort of coming through. And then as for the finish, it's got this long spicy richness. You can almost dive into it and feel yourself sort of descending down as it sinks down. Certainly a beautiful wee dram for a finish to an evening, one that you really want to savor. And you know, they say that you should give it at least 20 minutes for each year in age. I certainly don't get around to doing that. Certainly for some of my older ones, I'd be waiting a long time. but it needs a little bit of opening up, and a drop of water would really give it even more visibility of some of the nuts and the oakiness that I think are deeper down in there, but delightful dark abyss, a delightful wee dram. Let's move on to the next one. So here we are, this is our third, this is Pretty in Pink, and Bunnahabhain is it's an Islay, so it's in the Lagavulins and, you know, those peaty, smoky distilleries. And this one's called Pretty in Pink, and it's very hard to see this on the video. I certainly see it when you compare it to other glasses. You can see it's got the darkness, but this is actually you can see that hint of pink, I hope. And that's really coming across. I'm not sure exactly where that's coming from, but completely different flavor profile. But I'm not getting that typical Lafroig sort of smokiness that you might expect from an Islay. I get this sort of rosiness, a little bit of peppercorns, and I can feel almost a little bit of the ocean spray wisping across. And again, it's a higher alcohol content. This particular bottle is running at 60, just a little over 60%. So you might think harsher, but in fact, because of this sort of pinkiness, which to me comes from, I don't know, some strawberries, maybe a little bit of mango. I can almost taste a little bit of liquorice in there, one of my favorite flavor profiles. And then the finish, medium long, again, I think coming from this Islay space with the saltiness, the sea spray that you get this hint of. But I can almost get some opal fruits, you know, those chewy sweets, a little bit of sweetness that runs through with that liquorice that ends up sort of finishing it off. Out of the three, it's hard to pick. I love all of these for different reasons. But if I was going to pick one, I have to say this Pretty in Pink is just this delightful dram that gives you so many different flavors and profiles that are really quite unusual. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you might get an opportunity to try some of these, and if they're not available, some of the same distilleries you might find are available. I'll put them in the notes. Otherwise, until next time, I'm Dr. Nick, I'm the Incrementalist and a whiskey librarian.